Hi everyone, this is Pokemon Arbok, and today I'm going to be bringing you the Zing deck profile that I have been completely terrible with. It's a synchro deck, and as you can see, it's a synchro deck. The levels are too inconsistent for you to really successfully exceed with any of them. So, the Zing, the way they work is when they're destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Zing monster from your deck. And the position depends on the attack and defense of the monster that was destroyed. So if it has 0 defense, then you're going to summon one in defense. If it has 0 attack, then you're going to summon one in attack position. So like, say Beyond Earth the Zing was destroyed, you would special summon like Jiao to Darkness of the Zing, or maybe Chuan if you wanted to. So you can also synchro summon on your opponent's turn with almost all of the cards. It's a quick effect. So you can synchro immediately after this effect resolves. Synchro summon one synchro monster using only Zing monsters you control. This is a quick effect. And then they all have an effect for, well, most of them have an effect for the synchro monster. Beyond Earth the Zing says a synchro monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Bixie's effect is unaffected by traps. Chuan, I'll talk about Chuan and Jiao too later because they're the tuners and they're special. There's Pulau, who makes him unaffected by spells and traps. Or no, just spells. One copy of Pulau because it's just level 1. And this, with Suwani, it gains 500 attack and defense. So for Chuan, this one's special. It's a level 1 tuner, and it has the regular Zing effect. But when a Zing monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, while this card is in your graveyard, you can specially summon this card, and if you do, banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use one Chuan Light of the Zing effect per turn. So, yes, it's a very interesting card. I think it's a good tuner mechanic. It's like glow up bulb, kind of. It has an effect that summons it when it's in the graveyard, but it's not limited to one, and you can't use it only once per duel. We have Jiao 2 Darkness of the Zing, which is a level 2 tuner. If you control no other monsters, you can send 2 Zing cards from your hand to the graveyard. Cards, not monsters. Special summon one Zing monster of 0 attack and one Zing monster of 0 defense, but banish them during the end phase. So, if you wanted to get Boxia, you would summon Suwani and Bixie. 4, 6, 8, and Boxia is level 8. If you wanted Yazi, you would take out Suwani and replace it with Beyond. Well, also for Boxia, you could potentially do 2, 3, 6. If you wanted to make 6, which would be how you made Goyo Guardian, it would not be able to be destroyed by battle, unaffected by traps. I think that's very useful. And then we have 2 copies of Unmasked Dragon. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one worm-type monster of 1,500 or less defense from your deck. So that is because we don't have a super large amount of monsters. Like, it's just to get the cycle going. You could take that out if you wanted. We have 2 copies of Dark Hole because if you have multiple Zing monsters on the field, you can just have them summon each other. Like, if you have Suwani and Bixie, you can have Suwani summon Bixie and Bixie summon Suwani. With Dark Hole, and it's like 2 copies of Raigeki. Foolish Burial. Always send Chuan with Foolish Burial. Because Foolish Burial doesn't destroy, it doesn't have any super useful effect. None of them have any super useful effects except for Chuan in the graveyard. 3 MST, Soul Charge, Supply Squad because the main deck monsters are kind of weak. Upstart, Zing Path. Target 3 Zing monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 into the deck, then draw 2 cards. You can only activate it once per turn. Bottomless, Solemn, Torrential, Zing Creation. Once per turn, if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Yang monster from your deck. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except synchro monsters. And as you can see, there are only synchro monsters in this extra deck. 2 copies of Mistake, because you do no adding from your deck to your hand in this deck. It's all special summoning it from the deck or drawing. And with Necroz becoming TCG very soon, I think that's going to be pretty useful. Because Necroz is going to be a real threat, and I already dislike it. I've played it against it a few times. So, the extra deck, 2 copies of Boxia. It's like the Madolche Tiramisu, but synchro. Kind of. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target cards of the field up to the number of different original attributes of worm-type monsters used for the synchro summon of this card. Shuffle them into the deck. Once per turn, you can target one monster in your graveyard and one card that you control. Destroy that card in the field, and if you do, special summon the other from the graveyard. So you get, say you destroyed like Bixie or something, and you had Jiao2, or no, not Jiao2. I don't know. You could just build up the levels, so you could go for Leo or maybe Star Eater. Leo is level 10, Star Eater is level 11, I believe. Yeah, it's level 11. Beals of the Diabolic Dragons, you make that with Jiao2. Well, you just make it, it's level 8. 7 would be the same way you make Yazi. Crimson Blader. Formula Synchron, which would just be Chuen and Pulao. Goyo. Leo. Mistbird Clausulus. Star Eater. Underworld Fighter Ball Mung, which is... I might take it out because, I mean, it's not super useful. I mean, it's when this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard, except this card and special summon it. I mean, I don't think it's super useful. You can definitely replace that with something. Vulcan the Divine. Target one face-up card you control and one face-up card your opponent controls. Return those to the hand. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name as those returned to the hand. And 2 Yazi. Cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects, so no Castel, no compulsory, none of that. You can target one Yang monster you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. When this card is you control is by battle or card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon one worm-type monster from your deck in defense position. And the stuff I have in the side deck is other Yang cards, with the exception of Vanities right there, that I'm not using in the deck. So there's Tao Tai, probably mispronouncing that, Shadow of the Yang. It just doesn't have that much of a use. Like, possession of the field that uses card synchro material cannot switch. Now, if you're playing against, like, Infernoids or something, because they run Hidden Armory, and then they always search out Snatch Steal, this could be a side deck option, but its effect isn't super useful, and you have to tribute summon it. So you don't get any useful effects from that. It's just probably really cloggy. Yang Prana, I just don't have the room for it. It doesn't really help with the thing. The thing. It just doesn't really help with building up to synchro summon. Yang Brutalities. It's an interesting tech, but I'm not using it. It's kind of like Honest. No, it's like Bujinki Crane. But it's destroyed at the end of this damage step, so you still get its effect, but you can also have your opponent take damage or something. And then Yang Zing Unleashed. All monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. During either player's main phase or battle phase, you can synchro summon with that monster, using one or more Yang Zing monsters you control as synchro materials. And that's really a waste of space, because they can already do that, with the exception of Jiaotu. Can Chuwen do that? No, Chuwen can also not do that. Then there's Vanity's Emptiness, which needs to get hit. Otherwise, this deck is going to go nowhere, because the main deck is really weak, and unless you draw like an MST or something, or Torrential, some kind of one of that removes a card from the field, it's completely dead, because you can't special summon monsters and you're just sitting there like setting one monster per turn. I guess that would be when you lose, because there's nothing else that you can really do. I just went and looked, and Hot Red Dragon Archfiend could be easily made on this deck, because during your main phase 1, you can destroy all other face-up attack position monsters on the field. So that gets the Yang Zing effect. Plus, it's also a pretty useful effect, because it just wipes not everything, but it sure wipes a lot of stuff. And I took out Underworld Fighter Balmung for it, because it's when it's destroyed by a card effect, and that's like situational dark hole kind of stuff. So I think this deck is really fun, and you basically you can take your turn on your opponent's turn, which is one of my favorite things about it, because of the synchro summoning. Another thing, cards that only let you like special summon once per turn. With Jiaotu's effect, it happens at the same time, so that's counted as your once per turn. It's not 2 special summons. This is Pokemon Arbok, giving you a Yang Zing deck profile. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and see you next time.